Hey everyone, thanks for joining me again, and today we'll be looking at some headphone amplifiers. I have a couple units on loan that I'm really loving. First, I'll start off by showing you the topping A50 Mark III. That one is on loan from Audio. Thanks guys for sending it over for review. This unit is a solid state headphone amplifier, putting out up to 3.5 watts out of the balanced output and 1.4 watts out of the single-ended at 32 ohms. Instantly gives you the feeling of quality here. All aluminum and not that thin flexi aluminum, super solid aluminum. I love that. The volume knob is super smooth and it feels great, no wobble at all. You have a power button, 3 LEDs for your gain, low, medium, and high, the 6.35 millimeter single-ended and 4.4 millimeter balanced outputs. On the back side we have the inputs, and we have two sets here, one on TRS and the other on RCA, and a nice little toggle that lets you select either one. So you could have this set up with two inputs and just select the switch here, single-ended down at the bottom and balanced up top. Next is the USB-C port, but that's used for firmware updates only, and a 12-volt trigger in. And finally, a port for your power, and this is the 15-volt DC. I wish that could be a little more standardized, like having this input be a 12 volt. So if you have an upgraded power supply, you can use that instead of having to buy multiples. However, I understand some op amps really like 15 volts, but maybe they can engineer something with a step-up converter so we can start standardizing that to a 12 volt. So super solid unit for a solid state. I love this guy. The price point is coming in at $199 over at APOS. And again, it does match beautifully with the D50 Mark III DAC. Then over here, we have a different headphone amp. We have the FX Audio Tube 05, and this is a tube-based preamp. Although you can bypass that and get more of a transistor sound, but I think when you buy something with a tube, you're looking for that tube sound. This unit does have a 12AU7, which does give you some of that traditional tube sound. Still a nice amount of power on this guy. You're getting 960 milliwatts into 32 ohms, single-ended only. You get a 3.5 millimeter output and a 6.35 millimeter output as well. The volume control here is an encoder, and a press of the button gets you into the menu system, and you have up and down on the volume from 0 to 99. This unit does also give you tone controls. You have a bass and a treble control. And the OLED screen is pretty nice. It is dimmable, which I love to see, with 4 different settings, although you can't change the colors. On the back side, you have RCA ins and RCA outs and your power plug, this one on 12 volt DC. And since you do have those RCA outs, you can shoot this over to another preamp or an amplifier directly. If you're gonna send it out to an amplifier, make sure you have your volume set to 90. That'll send out the full 2 volts. If you go even higher, you're gonna be sending over 2 volts. I think it maxes out at like 3.7 volts. So if you wanna make sure your amplifier is happy, if your amplifier takes 2 volts max, make sure you stick to 90. The tube that's included with the Tube 05 is from PSVANE, and it's from their Hi-Fi series. PSVANE has a good, better, best tier, and their Hi-Fi tube is their starting point. Next up, they have their Horizon and Art series, and finally their Acme series. I first started testing this with the included tube. I tested both of these headphone amps with the topping D50 Mark III as a DAC. Shot over the same song and listened quite a bit. As for output power, the A50 Mark III on the middle gain setting is about the same power that you're gonna get out of the Tube 05. The Tube 05 won't go super low, so if you have some very sensitive IEMs, you're probably gonna like the A50 Mark III better, as it has that low gain that gives you minus 12 dBs. And if you have something super power hungry, of course you have that high gain there that's gonna give you even more juice. I was listening to the Tube 05 at 49 on the volume, and the A50 Mark III in medium gain with the volume knob at 1 o'clock. So let's talk about the sound characteristics. The A50 Mark III is definitely more precise, more controlled, more clarity around all frequencies. If you want that more analytic sound, the A50 Mark III is the way to go. The Tube 05 definitely gives you that tube feel. When switching over, I instantly got that extra sense of space coming around me. That tube also lends a little bit something to the mid-range, but doesn't touch too much on the highs. But interestingly enough, I didn't sense it to cut any of the highs either, so that's a nice plus. The downside to the value tube setup is going to be over the control, and mainly the control under 500 Hertz. The bass is definitely a lot looser. Although it does sound fuller, you do lose the texture and the nuances of the bass. While the A50 Mark III gives you a slightly thinner bass, it's definitely more controlled, and you can hear the little micro details in the rumbles. But generally speaking, for 120 bucks, I think that's pretty good for what you're getting. The two sounds are fairly different. I couldn't tell you which one is better, it's more a matter of preference. I'd personally love to have all three of these units on my desktop and to be able to switch from solid state over to tube depending on the song I'm listening to or my mood. This will put your desktop budget at $230 for the DAC, $200 for the A50 Mark III, and then another $120 for the Tube 05, so $550 all in this setup. I forgot to mention, guys, Hi-Fi College did send out the FX Tube 05 over for review, so I want to say thanks to them for letting me review this unit. And finally, another thing that I did test was upgrading the tube on the Tube 05. PSVANE did reach out to me to ask if I'd like to try their new line of tubes, and this is their Horizon, which again falls in their middle tier of tubes. I told them sure, and they actually sent these out to me at no charge, so I'd like to let you guys know this was provided to me at no charge. However, any opinions I give you are my own. Now, taking a close look at the Horizon tube from PSVANE versus their Hi-Fi tube, visually, they look pretty darn close. I didn't get my caliper out to measure the thickness of the leads, but I'd say they're about the same thickness, so I don't think there's any extra coating on these guys. The data sheet that PSVANE sent me with these tubes does say that this tube is quite a bit quieter and has less microphonics. While I personally didn't have any issues with noise or microphonics, I can tell you that this tube is a nice upgrade. The Horizon 12AU7AT maintains that tubey sound, so you get that same sense of space, those extra harmonics, and that really pleasant mid-range, and you keep that little extra bass, but now it's more controlled. And I think that's the bigger difference there. It cleans up the bass about halfway between the sound of the Hi-Fi tube and the sound of the A50 Mark III. So you still get slightly fuller sound than the A50 Mark III, but with that holographic image as well. All in all, a very pleasant sound. The highs again on the Tube 05 don't seem to be affected. I don't get that sharp roll off after 16K. I can still hear that sizzle in the air. Now the construction on the Horizon tube isn't as good as the Gold Lion. However, those tubes are going for about $55 a piece, whereas the Horizon's coming in at a great price point at $55 for a matched pair. So pretty good value as well. The Hi-Fi's coming in at around $40 a pair last time I checked. So again, guys, today we have another short one, but I do have to say that as for headphone amps, I love both of these for their own traits, and I personally have a hard time choosing between them. The topping is a little more money, but that build quality more than justifies that extra $100. Over here with the Tube 05 from FX, we have a super fun unit, which I think aesthetically is very cool as well, at a great price point at $120. And you have an upgrade path with that Horizon tube. Next, I have some sound demos where I'll be switching every 5 seconds. I have a track by Vince Staples Radio, and I will be starting off with the A50 Mark III, then the Tube 05 with its stock Hi-Fi tube, and finally the Tube 05 with the upgraded Horizon tube. The things you might pick up on those sound demos are going to be the bass control, the holographics of the tubes versus the solid state, and finally the clarity between the Hi-Fi tube and the Horizon tube. I'll leave a link to both of these units and the Horizon tubes down below in case you're interested in purchasing these, and I'll see you on the next one.
Miss the radio, big boy in the morning, zoned in, waiting for my favorite song. Riding with my pops in the front seat, pull up to the block, with the real G. 92.3, 94.7 away. I know my real ones from the ghetto relate. I know they finna play some Nelly today. My favorite rapper till I hit 7th grade, and Aaron played Below the Heavens, and everything changed. A better day was just a stone's throw away. K-Day would play the records that my sister would say was realer than whatever I listened to. When I got older, I realized it was true. The purity of when it's nothing to lose. Back when niggas had the rhythm and blues. I turned up my hustle, I turned up my section, I turned up my bitch. I turned up my savage, I turned down the street and I made me a hit. Just like music. Just like music. Hey Mr. DJ, can I make a request? The woman that I love won't respond to my text. I broke her heart, I'm trying hard as hell to clean up the mess. I pray to God above, but he ain't never say nothing back. we met, she told me she don't ever listen to rap. I asked her why, she said no man should speak to women like that. I asked her why, she said the woman is the key to the earth, and she the one to give birth, and she was raised in the church. So what you saying, the verse means something different, but to me they just words. Wasn't really trying to hear it till she kicked me to the curb. Now with Smokey Robinson, and after that I play Roberta Flack. Had a James and Amy waiting for the day she take me back. Michael and his brothers made me wonder about who loving you. Brandy understand me, broken hearted sitting in my room. I got a lot on my chest. Can you play my request? Please. I turned up my hustle, I turned up my section, I turned up my bitch. I turned up my savage, I turned down the street and I made me a